right, so welcome back to the second episode of our podcast. And in the time from number 1 to 2, we have come up with a name, and I want to give the credit to this man right here. If you want to give the first official introduction for what our first podcast name is.
The name comes from Daniel and I being brother-in-laws and kind of having teams that are rivaled against one another. So it's rival-in-laws, and we're pretty excited about it. I think it's going to add a good little twist to a subject that we all love, being sports. So it's always fun to be rivals. It's even funner whenever it's your brother-in-law and you see him as often as we see each other. So
the main rival in that is I'm a diehard LSU Tiger fan, and this man is a Roll Tide Bama fan. So there's some bad blood in the college world. And then in the NFC, I've got the Saints. He's got the Packers.
Right.
And so that's where we got the rival-in-laws squaring up. It'll be a fun name. There's no hate against each other, but
right.
When it comes to football, we get passionate. So.
Right, yeah, we get pretty jacked up. I decided to be a good brother-in-law last year and bring Daniel with me to the LSU-Alabama game. LSU decided to ruin the evening for me. It was a great game. Great memories were
We'll probably
made.
Cover that when it comes to LSU-Bama. We'll
sure.
kind of revisit what has happened in the past
couple
years.
Yeah, we'll definitely do a recap of what's happened. But let's dive into what we have right now. So we're hot in the middle of free agency. There's a lot that's been happening on the NFL side and free agency. So in our last episode, we talked about the QB carousel, and there was a lot of changes happening at the time. Derek Carr had signed with the Saints, and so let's start with that. So Derek Carr signing with the Saints. What's a little update on what's going on with the Saints? How are they doing?
Yeah, so the Saints signed Derek Carr, I think officially to a 3-year, $150 million, or a 4-year?
I think it was 4 years, $150 million. Yeah.
Which is pretty extensive to just go ahead and get the man in.
For sure.
That means they believe in him, and honestly, we touched on it last time, but I'm really excited about even just that commitment in him, and it seems like he's got a new fire, especially in a new place. Trying to make his stake, and it seems like to get him there. You heard whispers last time we talked about Michael Thomas and Tyrann Mathieu approaching him, and kind of was a factor, which essentially is now Michael Thomas is staying, and he's even restructured his deal.
Yeah, he restructured his deal to a 1-year, $10 million contract. It has the ability of getting up to $15 million. But what's your thought on that? What's your thought on Michael Thomas returning? A lot of Saints fans were really upset with maybe the way that he his commitment level the last couple of years. I'm pretty sure he had a paper cut and he was put on IR. So what's your thoughts on that? Michael Thomas is obviously, when he's on, he's one of the greatest receivers in the NFL. So what's your thoughts?
Yeah, if I want to be dead honest, I have not been the biggest fan of Michael Thomas.
Sure.
And one is some bad blood. I drafted him, I think 3 years ago with my first pick, and the dude, basically was out the whole season. But in reality, it just seems like he had that great year, and he was good the year before. But I just don't know if he's been in football. It just seems like he's kind of checked out.
Yeah.
And maybe it got to his head, or he thought he was on top of the world. But I'm just hoping that he can just come back down to earth and just play. Honestly, just get healthy. I don't know I don't know the legitimacy of the injuries, but it seems like everything kept nagging. Over the offseason, he didn't take the precautionary steps to be healthy by the season. I don't know if you saw all that.
I think a lot of it had to do with, similar to when COVID-19 happened and Jamar Chase sat out his junior year.
True.
And then he foregoed his senior year and went to the NFL draft. I think a lot of this had to do with inconsistency at quarterback affecting his game to a level. You look at 2018 and 2019. So 2018, he had 125 catches, 1,400 yards, and 9 touchdowns. And in 2019, he had 149 catches, 1,725 yards, and 9 touchdowns. So he had 2 really good years. Arguably some of the best years we've ever seen from a receiver as of recently. And so I think a lot of it just has to do with the fact that there was inconsistency at the quarterback that caused An inconsistency and lack of commitment from Michael Thomas. I think he let that get the better of him, and so now we're at a place where we're wondering, can he return to that? And I think honestly, I think with Derek Carr coming and offering that consistency, I think that he can. And so with that being said, so you add Michael Thomas, what do you think that does to the offense?
I mean, I think if you can get on the same page with Derek Carr, if they're both bought in, it seems like Derek. I mean, just by, if you've seen some of the interviews
Sure.
too, the man is like saying like, "I will give this city my all, I'll give
Right,
it
right.
everything." And so, if Michael Thomas has the same buy-in, I think it's going to be a new start for both the guys.
Sure.
You know, for Derek Carr, for Michael Thomas. And I think if you get Michael Thomas on board, I mean, you already got Chris Olave, a blooming rookie who is in the running for Offensive Rookie of the Year.
1,000-yard season, his first year in the NFL.
Yeah.
That's pretty big.
No, which is huge. So you got him, and Jarvis. I know he got hurt at the end of the year. I'm not sure what his status is going to be going as we start the year. But man, I mean, you look at that receiving core. I know we were coming in last year really strong, but we didn't know Michael Thomas would go down. Jarvis at the end, but I'm really excited. I'm really excited about these guys all coming together. And, it also, I mean, we're going to get to that in a second, but they're trying to add other pieces to make this a legitimate offense.
Yeah, so I'm excited about Michael Thomas, and like you just said, I think a big part of this Saints offense that really could be prolific, it could really be good, is what they're willing to do to surround Derek Carr. So the next person that they added was a personal favorite of mine, because I got to see him in Green Bay. I got to see him bloom and do really well in Green Bay. Is Jamal Williams?
Yep.
Is the addition of Jamal Williams? So we know from a fantasy football perspective, he lit the world on fire last year.
Crazy.
And was a touchdown machine. He was on my fantasy team, so I was happy about that. But he also had a couple of those touchdowns against my Packers, so I wasn't too happy about that. But he's coming to New Orleans on a 3-year, $8 million fully guaranteed deal. Jamal Williams is the kind of running back that is perfect for being a help to Alvin Kamara, kind of a complement to his running game. I think he's going to do really well. So what's your thoughts on Jamal Williams?
Yeah, I mean, I've loved this guy. I mean, I didn't watch all of like the Hard Knocks and the whole kind of episode on him, but he seems like everyone on the team loves him. I mean, at Green Bay, at Detroit, people just couldn't get enough of Jamal Williams because of his attitude.
Right.
He loves the game.
He's a fan
always
favorite.
He's a fan favorite. He's always smiling. And so I think that's exactly what Alvin needs, of like a compliment. I know Mark Ingram was that. Mm-hmm. He's a happy-go-lucky guy.
Right.
But for someone to kind of like not only talk the talk but walk the walk, like
Right.
Jamal did at his age, to come back
Sure.
what he did last year was pretty incredible. And I think it's a perfect combo. You got Alvin with the speed who can bounce out, shifty. Will make the big play, and then Jamal to basically be clean up at the goal line. Short yardage situations. I think it's a great fit, honestly. I had him on my fantasy team at Detroit as well. Not before this breakout, but I'm just really excited to kind of pair him with like a 1-2 with Kamara and Jamal. So I'm excited.
Yeah, Jamal Williams is still relatively young as well. I believe he's in his late 20s. I'm actually 27.
Okay.
He's actually he's a lot more athletic than a lot of people would think at his position. He's not just a bruiser. He can move pretty well. He's a good blocker. I think he's a great addition. I think he could actually be a featured back in most offenses as well. I think he's undervalued. But I think he's going to be really good.
And the security, too. I mean, with
Right.
everything with Kamara right now.
Sure.
What's going to happen with all the allegation stuff. If he's even not available for, 1 game, 2 games, 6 games, the whole season, to have Jamal there is huge.
Yeah, so along with adding some people, the Saints have lost a couple of people. So one of those people will be in my own backyard, Marcus Davenport.
Okay.
Funny side story, Green Bay passed up on Davenport in the draft. I believe they traded down, and I can't remember who they traded down to get, but they passed up on him.
Okay.
And the Saints snagged him up with the next pick, I believe. And so Davenport, as talented as he is, I'll say this from the perspective outside looking in, it's not really what he does at the Vikings. I don't think anybody's going to say, "Oh, New Orleans walked away from a gem because of this." He unfortunately has really struggled to stay on the field. He struggled with injuries. He struggled with staying consistent. And so, best of luck to him at the Vikings. I hope he doesn't do too well because that's going to be again a detriment to my Packers. But I don't think it's going to be too big of a missing piece because he wasn't too much of a present piece when he was in New Orleans. Andy Dalton did a lot better than a lot of people thought he would do. I know Jameis Winston is coming back. But a lot of people thought Jameis Winston was going to be the starter last year. Andy Dalton was. And I think he did good. I think he was very serviceable in the position he was in. He wasn't going to win you games. He even lost you a couple. But at his age, for him to do what he did last year, hats off to him. He's going to be with the Panthers. So he's still in the division. But bringing Jameis Winston back ensures that the Saints are going to have that backup behind Derek Carr. That they're going to be able to rely on if something were to happen to Derek Carr. So just a few additions that the Saints are making to kind of offset some of these losses. So first off, they're adding Storm Norton. That's an offensive tackle from the Chargers. Not your blue chip guy. This guy that really is going to blow the doors off the free agency class. But he's
Storm. He could be blowing in, man.
Yeah, he's serviceable. He's going to compete for a first. For first string, at the very least, he's going to offer some valuable depth at a position that you don't want to be thin at. And then they add 2 defensive tackles. So these defensive tackles are kind of flying under the radar. Unbeknownst to me, Brad Williamson actually let me know, so shout out to Brad, that these guys are actually 2 pretty good defensive tackles. So Nathan Shepard coming from the Jets. And Kalen Saunders from Kansas City. 2 pretty good defensive tackles is what I'm told, that they're pretty serviceable, that they're going to fill in some gaps, and they're going to help New Orleans shore up that defense. And so New Orleans is going in with a pretty strong team. I'm excited as somebody who's not a Saints fan. I don't dislike the Saints. I'm excited for what they're going to bring to the table. And so they did what a lot of people wish they would have done, and they shored up the most important position right off the bat, which is Derek Carr. They got that quarterback that they wanted. Many believed he was in the running from some other places. But that's where we're at with him.
Man, it shows you how far a quarterback can take you, especially in this league. And you see some of the teams, all the teams who are in the championship this year in the AFC and NFC just had quarterbacks.
Right.
And you can lack position needs here and there, but if you've got that QB who can lead you through the thick and thin when that game's close to put you over the edge, that's what the Saints have been lacking for the past 3 years. Since Drew has left, we've kind of been in shambles.
Right.
And people were serviceable like Andy, and I think he'll do well. And depending on how they hit, the Panthers got the first pick. They're kind of using Andy as that kind of backup option. Whatever happens, they've got at least somebody.
Right.
Who can kind of get them through.
So I think one thing that we do have to say is take a look at these teams like Brock Purdy with San Francisco and some other teams that didn't have the guy. They didn't have a Josh Allen. They didn't have a Joe Burrow. But they were serviceable enough and they had enough talent around them. The exciting thing about the Saints is they might have the guy. If Derek can still spin it like he did a few years ago, he'll be that guy. Surrounded with those guys. He's surrounded with talent. So the Saints are a really exciting team. Just a few years removed from the Drew Brees era. Looks like they're already recovering. So I know a lot of people are still skeptical of Dennis Allen and him as a head coach, but I think he's doing a good job of amassing talent.
Exactly. So we'll see. We'll see what happens, especially with Allen. I've still kind of got him. I'm not all the way bought in yet.
Right.
So we'll see what he does this year. But that leads us to, as we cover my team, the Saints, who dat, I got to represent. We go on to the Packs. And, not even just the Packers, but just the talk of this entire free agency, entire offseason is Mr. Aaron Rodgers. You're QB1 for the past however many years. You're the expert in this field. What is the update? Where is he at? I heard he was on a show this week. Just tell me what kind of news we got this week.
Yeah, so
since our last podcast, really.
It's important to point out the way that the rest of the QB carousel went before we get to Aaron Rodgers, right? So Derek Carr with New Orleans, obviously. Jimmy Garoppolo went to Las Vegas to fill those shoes that Derek Carr left. Tyler Heineke, he's in Atlanta. Andy Dalton, he's in Carolina, and then you just go down the list, and there's some people that maybe aren't so.
And actually, last time we touched base with Atlanta, I think they parted ways with Mariota.
They did.
And
yeah,
so
so Mariota's
you got
going to
Desmond
Philly.
Ridder and Heineke pairing, which will be an interesting pairing.
Yeah, so the reason that's so important to bring up is because of this. That leaves the Jets in a position where they don't know who they have.
True.
It's Aaron Rodgers or bust. It's Aaron Rodgers or they shell out $300 million in a fully guaranteed contract to Lamar Jackson, or it's Aaron Rodgers or they go back with Zach Wilson, right? And so, and if they do that, that GM can go ahead and kiss his job goodbye, because that's not what the Jets owners and that's not what the Jets faithful want, right? So the Packers and the Jets have agreed in principle on the trade between Rodgers and the Jets.
Okay.
As difficult as it is to say and realize, and I have mixed emotions. Part of me is excited for this Jordan Love era to come, but part of me is the same kid that bought an Aaron Rodgers jersey back in 2008 because I just knew he was going to take us places, and he did. He did take us to a place one time, a little underwhelming, but he took us there. Regardless, Aaron Rodgers will no longer be the starting quarterback for the Green Bay Packers, and it's a little surreal to deal with, but it's just the truth, and that's where we're at with it. He went on the Pat McAfee show. So crazy thing is, Pat McAfee, which is a subpar podcast compared to ours, got 500,000 people to tune in to the live broadcast because they all wanted to see what Aaron Rodgers had to say.
It's crazy.
Matter of
live
fact,
stream, not just like views in general. On the live stream, 500,000.
As soon as they posted it, or as soon as it went live, the Jets posted a tweet where they had a picture of a meme of, I forgot which actor it was, going like this, because they were excited that he was coming to the Jets. He went in. He said he intended on playing for the Jets. That leaves compensation. And the talk is whether or not they're going to trade multiple first-round picks, a first-round pick and some players, or what the actual trade was going to be. But that was kind of where it was at. So really where it's at right now is just that. Is they're trying to figure out what the compensation is going to be.
Wow. And so what does that mean for the Jets if this does go through? Mm-hmm. What does that mean for the Jets? What does that mean for the Packers? Kind of where do you see like the state of both franchises is? What is the state of both franchises if this happens?
Yeah, so the Packers state is a scary place if I'm being honest.
Okay.
It's exciting because there's a lot of young talent, but they don't have a lot of proven talent. Jordan Love is not proven by any stretch of the imagination. Christian Watson, as much as he did turn on last year toward the end of the year, consistency is still an issue. He needs to show that he can produce that for the full year. Aaron Jones is still there, and he's still, in my opinion, a top 10 back. And they still have Jair Alexander, who's a top 5 cornerback in the league. And so they still have some pieces. Rashawn Gary's coming back from an ACL. They still have some pieces to work with. But the Packers are at a place now where we're going to see what Matt LaFleur is made out of. The Jets, on the other hand, total opposite. They're contenders now. Yeah. They're not just playoff contenders, Daniel. They're Super Bowl contenders.
Really?
If Rodgers can play even like he played last year, right, which was way below the average for Rodgers. I will say this. When Green Bay drafted Jordan Love, that was the best thing that they could have done for Aaron Rodgers because that resulted in an MVP campaign.
Really?
Oh yeah, he was stirred up. He was jacked up. He was ready to get after it. He was playing with a chip on his shoulder. Same way he was when he came into the league after San Francisco passed up on him and picked Alex Smith. And so that's the kind of guy Rodgers is. So I wouldn't be surprised if he just lit up the league last year, even at his age. So I do think that the Jets are at a place where they're Super Bowl contenders. They have a outstanding defense and they have a really good offense as far as around the quarterback position. So if Aaron Rodgers can tie it all together in the offense, they're going to be doing pretty good. And so I'm interested to see what this is going to result in and how this is going to kind of wrap itself up as far as compensation and all that, because that'll have something to do with the way that the Jets and the Packers proceed. But that's really going to impact this free agent market in a way that once this last domino falls, I think you'll see the rest of the free agent market kind of spike back up. You're going to have Rodgers is going to be continuing to advocate for people to come join him at the Jets.
That's true.
And these veterans, Ezekiel Elliott was just released.
Yeah, I saw that, man.
These veterans, D-Hop is still on the trade block, DeAndre Hopkins, and so he's on the trade block. These veterans that they're at a point in their career where maybe it's not about money, it's about winning a ring now. It's about winning.
Wow.
They're going to want to team up with some veteran teams. So it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to put the Jets in a place where they're going to be a very attractive place to go.
Dude, in New York too, you got the Big Apple right there. That'd be exciting. Yeah, and who was on the list? He already got Lazard.
He got Alan Lazard. 3 years, $44 million, I believe, or 2 years, $44 million.
Okay.
So he got Lazard.
Last time we talked, I don't think we talked about the wish list he put out.
Yeah,
so Lazard. Who all do you?
Lazard. He wants Lazard, Randall Cobb, Mercedes Lewis, and Odell Beckham.
Okay.
And now that's alleged. That's what people say.
Yeah.
Some people are saying there's no wish list. Some people are saying it's a wish list. I couldn't imagine. Rodgers is a pretty smart guy. If the complaint last year was he didn't have enough weapons in Green Bay, why would he bring those same non-weapons with him to New York? So part of me thinks the Jets are just maybe trying to give as much ammo to cause reason for him to come as they can. But even if they didn't change a thing on that team, the Jets are a pretty good team. I think they can be pretty good next year.
Gosh, man, it's exciting. Exciting to see that both of our teams, a lot is shaking up.
Yeah.
They're both in this kind of rebuilding phase, and so it'll be really interesting to see kind of, this next era from, for a Saints fan, from Drew Brees departing from him was like this big heartbreak, but it was like it came to a point, it's like, okay, it's about time, you know? And I guess you're kind of experiencing that same thing with Rodgers.
Right.
And it's scary, but, it's cool to see some of these teams take a turn. I'm trying to think of transitions, who's really done it well. But I'm trying to think, even the Eagles, they've been in transition for a while until they've gotten hurt. I mean,
as unbiased as I'm trying to be, I think the best transition was from Favre to Rodgers. I don't think anyone's done it much better than that.
Okay.
From Hall of Famer to Hall of Famer.
That's very true. Very true.
I don't think anyone's done it like that. When you look at...
they drafted him, too.
They drafted Rodgers, developed him. Remember last time we talked about Favre got traded to the Jets. Rodgers was getting traded to the Jets. So many similarities.
Come on.
It's deja vu all over again. I'm waiting for 2008. Everything went nuts when that happened. So now we're waiting and seeing. But yeah, there's a lot of transition. We'll see. A lot of these names that are going places. Marcus Mariota, Mike White, Jacoby Brissett, Jarrett Stidham. They're going to places that it really doesn't matter. Cooper Rush. He's going back to Dallas. He signed an extension. These guys, they're second string. I will say, Baker Mayfield, who I'm not a fan of, it'll be interesting to see if he can compete in Tampa. He signed in Tampa.
He signed in Tampa.
Yeah, he's looking to take Tom Brady's reins. It'll be interesting to see what they do over there with him. But other than that, there's really not too much excitement after you get out of the Derek Carr, Jimmy Garoppolo. Taylor Heineke, that's pretty exciting because I think he deserves a shot at a starting job. Jacoby Brissett, I think he's better than anybody Washington's had, even Carson Wentz. But for the most part, there's really not too much excitement when it comes to after these top 2 or 3 guys. So it'll be interesting to see how this season starts out.
Yeah, let's get it, man. Well, I think that about wraps it up. If you have anything else on this segment, like I said, today we kind of dove a little more into our own personal favorite teams, but like we said, we'll have different topics as we progress through this off season. We'll take a more wider scope. We'll kind of maybe hone on divisions, different sides, and eventually, when college gets closer, we'll get into that as well. And we might even we touched on it, but 2 separate kind of styles of episodes. One focused on college, one on NFL.
Sure.
But this is what's really cooking right now, this NFL offseason.
Yeah, and so stick with us. Again, we're working through, just the challenges of starting a podcast. We're kind of we decided, hey, let's start it. We'll learn as we go. So stick with us, but we look to be able to offer you some more information and cover things a little bit more in detail generally the way that we've been. So once the dominoes fall on Rodgers and we figure out what's going on with that, we'll probably just do a whole segment on that.
Yep.
We'll do a whole segment on the Saints going into the draft. Same thing with the Packers, and so we'll get a little bit more polished as time goes on.
Let's go. But yeah, we're just pressing record, getting it going, and it's exciting just to do it with you, Sam. So
Yeah,
let's
for
go,
sure.
man. Rattling laws. Let's get it.
Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.